As they reached the center of the chamber, they found a podium with a gleaming knife resting upon it. The blade was stained with the same sickly green light as the hearts in the jars above. Adanna picked up the knife with trembling hands, the weight of its power almost too much to bear. The bed's whispers grew softer, almost a hiss. "Find the Chamber of the Harvest," it instructed, "where Lord Harvest keeps his darkest secrets. There, you will find the means to harvest fear. Only then will you be worthy of my power." Chima and Adanna exchanged a nervous glance, the gravity of their task weighing heavily upon them. They knew that this quest would lead them into the very heart of the palace's corruption. They would have to tread carefully to avoid detection and confrontation with the guards and other servants of Lord Harvest. The siblings left the chamber, the whispers of the sentient bed echoing in their minds like a siren's call. They found themselves in a part of the palace they had never seen before, a series of dimly lit corridors that smelled faintly of earth and decay. The walls were lined with ancient tapestries, their threads unraveled and faded, hinting at the dark secrets that lay beneath the palace's gleaming facade. As they descended into the bowels of the building, the air grew colder, the whispers of the bed guiding them through the twisting maze. They stumbled upon a hidden door, its wood thick with dust and cobwebs, and pushed it open to reveal a staircase leading into the depths. The stairs were steep and narrow, and with each step, the whispers grew louder, more insistent. The siblings ventured down, their hearts racing with dread and excitement. The walls of the staircase were lined with jars, each one containing a shriveled human heart, pulsing with a sickly green light. The floor was sticky with the residue of fear and despair, the very essence of the underground harvest that had brought the city to its knees. At the bottom of the stairs, they found themselves in a vast cavern, illuminated by the eerie glow of hundreds of torches. The room was filled with rows upon rows of pods, each one containing a terrified soul, their cries for mercy echoing through the cavern. The air was thick with the stench of fear, a nauseating perfume that clung to their skin and filled their lungs with dread. Adanna's eyes watered as she took in the sight before her. "We have to save them," she whispered, her voice shaking with emotion. Chima nodded gravely. "But first, we must find the means to harvest fear." They moved through the cavern, stepping carefully to avoid the writhing pods of trapped souls. The air was thick with their cries, a cacophony that tugged at their hearts. As they reached the center of the chamber, they found a podium with a gleaming knife resting upon it. The blade was stained with the same sickly green light as the hearts in the jars above. Adanna picked up the knife with trembling hands, the weight of its power almost too much to bear. "This must be it," she murmured, "the tool of Lord Harvest's terror." Chima nodded, his eyes scanning the room. "We must be quick," he whispered. The guards could be anywhere. They approached the nearest pod, the soul inside quivering in terror. Adanna felt a pang of pity but knew they had to go through with it. With a deep breath, she sliced through the pod's membrane, and the soul was released, its fear coalescing into a shimmering droplet that hovered in the air. It was palpable, a living essence that seemed to pulse with pain. But as the droplet touched her skin, something unexpected happened. Instead of the power they sought, it burned like acid, searing through her very being. She screamed, dropping the knife, which clattered to the ground. The souls in the surrounding pods grew more agitated, their cries reaching a crescendo that seemed to shake the very foundation of the cavern. Chima stared in horror as Adanna's skin began to bubble and blister. "No!" he roared, reaching for his sister, but she was already changing, her eyes rolling back in her head as she collapsed to the ground. The droplet of fear had seeped into her, consuming her like a living flame. Her body convulsed, her limbs contorting in a grotesque dance of agony. The air around her grew thick with the scent of burning flesh, and the whispers of the bed grew louder, almost triumphant. "You have failed," it hissed in their minds. "Now, you shall pay the price for your curiosity." Panic-stricken, Chima gathered Adanna into his arms and bolted from the chamber, the whispers of the bed following them like a dark shadow. He sprinted through the twisting corridors, his heart hammering in his chest, his mind racing with thoughts of escape. They had to get out of the palace, away from the horrors they had uncovered. Reaching the surface, Chima took a deep breath of the cool, fresh night air, feeling a momentary sense of relief. But he knew they couldn't stop there. The village was their only hope. He had to warn the elders, to beg for their help in defeating Lord Harvest and saving his sister. With Adanna's lifeless body in his arms, Chima sprinted through the quiet streets of the city, his heart pounding like a war drum. The moon cast long, jagged shadows that danced and twisted as he passed. The night was eerily silent, as if the very air held its breath in anticipation of his arrival. As he approached the village, the thatched roof huts grew closer together, the warm glow of their fires flickering through the windows. The elders' council hall was a beacon of light in the darkness, the chatter of worried voices spilling into the night. He burst through the doors, the wood slamming against the walls with the force of his desperation. The elders looked up from their heated discussion, their eyes widening in shock at the sight of Chima, his clothes torn and covered in dust, his sister's lifeless form clutched to his chest. The room fell silent as he staggered forward, gasping for breath. "Elders," he managed to croak out, his voice raw with emotion. "Lord Harvest, the bed, it's alive. It's feeding on fear." The council of elders exchanged knowing glances, their faces etched with the weight of secrets long held. The eldest among them, a woman with skin as wrinkled as the bark of the ancient tree, spoke in a voice that seemed to carry the wisdom of generations. "We have heard the whispers," she said gravely. "The Great Rice Heist has brought more than famine to our lands. It has awakened the dark spirits that dwell within the very fabric of fear itself." The siblings looked at each other, hope flickering in their eyes for the first time since they had entered the palace. "What can we do?" Chima asked, his voice hoarse with emotion. The eldest elder leaned forward, her eyes gleaming with a fierce determination that belied her age. "To defeat Lord Harvest and his monstrous bed, you must harness the power of the forgotten harvest," she said. "The rice that grows in the hearts of the brave and the pure." Chima's thoughts raced. "But how?" The eldest elder's gaze was steely. "You must gather the bravest souls from our village, those who have faced their fears and overcome them. Only then can you harness the power of the forgotten harvest." Chima nodded, his determination renewed. He knew what he had to do. He would save his sister, no matter the cost. "We will do as you say," he said, his voice firm. "We will burn down Lord Harvest's kingdom and destroy the bed that feeds on fear." The elders looked at each other, their expressions a mix of admiration and concern. They knew the path Chima and Adanna had chosen was fraught with danger, but they also knew that there was no other way to restore the balance to their land. They handed the siblings a map, ancient and brittle, showing the way to the secret fields of the forgotten harvest. The journey was long and treacherous, taking them through dense jungles and across treacherous rivers. They encountered creatures of the night, driven mad by the fear that permeated the land, but the siblings pressed on, their hearts filled with a newfound resolve. They gathered the bravest villagers along the way, each one with a story of triumph over fear that they shared as they marched towards their destination. Finally, after days of travel, they arrived at the secret fields of the forgotten harvest. The rice grew tall and golden, shimmering in the moonlight, a stark contrast to the barren wasteland that surrounded Lord Harvest City. The sight filled them with hope and determination. They knew that here, in this sacred place, they could forge the weapon that would bring down the monstrous bed and its master. As the night fell, Chima, Adanna, and the bravest villagers stood at different angles surrounding Lord Harvest Palace, waiting for the slickest opportunity to strike. Just then the gates of Glutton was shut. Wasting no time, they immediately set the rice fields on fire, making the guards run out of the palace to quench it, while they all ran into Lord Harvest Palace and burned it all to ashes. Lord Harvest and all his men died in the fire. The next morning, news spread like wildfire, and everyone, even the king, was astonished. Every mouth said, "Lord Harvest, it's been a long time coming." Celebrations filled the air, knowing that the robbery had ended. The villagers adorned Adanna and Chima with lots of gold, while the king made them the village treasurers. Like, share, and subscribe for more African folktales with Nana. Thank you.